Picture. I know where I'm going to be.
And I think you've written it in such a
I think it's my favorite from the writer. That's good. I guess it's well, of course, we worked in it.
Brandon, are we all set? We have internet now?
Uh-oh.
We're getting there? You good? Patience, you good?
Schooling it.
Old school in it. So is the owl working? Can everyone, anybody online, can you hear me? Ed?
Yes. Comments, yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. All right, it is 6:30. I'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Joe, will you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda review. Rika, what are the two issues we have that were...
From our last meeting, we had tabled the credit card policy and the first reading for the credit card policy and for the events and fundraiser cash management. We had tabled it for this meeting, but I think we'll probably...
I would prefer not to have those on the agenda tonight. I don't think we're ready for those at the executive level or at the board level, and would like to table those again until the next meeting. Do I hear that motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to table to the next meeting credit card policy and
The events and fundraiser cash management.
any discussion on the motion?
What's the date of the next meeting?
We're going to, you know what?
Summer schedule, isn't that right?
Summer meeting schedule.
That it may change, so I don't want to set that yet. Can we
Okay.
come back to that?
I was just
Actually setting that date?
Okay.
Because we go into the summer schedule. We're going to talk about that tonight.
Okay.
When we get there, that'll
So
become
just
clear.
table to the next one.
Just table it to the next meeting. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those two items are tabled to the next meeting. We also missed the update, the 2/3 update, 60% update for the wastewater project.
Yeah, there's also a feasibility study.
So I would like to add that under any other business, as I believe Ryan will be handling that for us, and then we'll be moving into the hearing.
After any other business.
After any other business, yep. Okay. Everybody okay with that?
Sure.
All right. Any other agenda review items here? Hearing none. Comments from Selectboard? Any comments from any of the members here? Comments from citizens? Topics not on the agenda. Lisa? Lisa Slade.
So at the last meeting, someone online mentioned not getting responses and returns from emails sent, and it was said to check with the IT department. So I didn't check with the IT department, but I too have sent 3 emails. One to the lister's office about 10 days ago with no response, and one to Rika and one to Joe during last Thursday's meeting. Before his comment, the gentleman that commented saying that he wasn't getting responses to emails. My email to Rika and Joe didn't require a response, so that's fine. I didn't get one, but I just wanted confirmation that you received them. And if people aren't receiving them, I don't think a person has to check with the IT department. I think the town should check with the IT department. Did you get my email, Joe?
Yes, and I responded to it.
Okay, I did not get your response.
I sent out a response at a little after 9 o'clock that night, actually.
Did you respond here or no?
I have to admit that the last 2 weeks have been just a blizzard of stuff going on, so I may have received it, but I haven't checked, so, sorry.
I'll check my spam folder or trash or whatever, but I didn't, like I said, it didn't require a response, so no big deal.
Selectboard to spam, love it.
Yeah. And then the second thing is, before the meeting this past Thursday was called to order, there was conversation at the Selectboard table about the police department and how the police department staffed, how many police officers we have, all that good stuff, as we see police vehicles on the road. So, the first public comment will be, it's pretty disappointing that the people at the head table don't know the update on the police force and how many people we have. And then my second, my question on that is an update for the police station that was supposed to be moving into East Scotty Park Road, into that building. I was just asking for an update on that. That's it.
Okay, thanks. Next, anybody else? August?
I just had a concern. I know you guys did the agenda review, but in terms of comments from citizens.
August, can you stop for a second? Please stop talking in the gallery. Thank you. August, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. I'm primarily here for the town plan hearing, and I believe it was warned to start at 6:30. And I'm just concerned because it's like the very last order of business, and sometimes these meetings go like 2 or 3 hours. So I'm just wondering why we're not starting.
I welcome your concern. We cannot start early on a warned hearing, but there's nothing that says we can't start late. That's why it's where it is.
Okay.
I personally, the agenda is mine, and I want to end the meeting. I would like to get through the work that we have as quickly as possible and get to the hearing and focus on that, if we could. That was my intent. Anybody else?
It's, oh, okay.
Dave Fuller has the floor.
I brought notes.
Oh, here we go. Now we're going to be here 2 hours.
It's a small piece of paper.
Usually I don't, but I wanted to cover a few things.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to talk about town things. It's making too much of us go from corner to corner and put gloves on. Tonight I came because you had told me, Mike, that maybe this would be the last meeting that Brandon would attend. I wanted to make sure that I showed up. I was on the search committee before Brandon applied here, and he applied to a few towns, and it got down to 2 candidates. And I can remember Kelly Murphy was the chair, and she said, okay, what do you want to do with the committee? And we had interviewed an older man that was a town manager somewhere else, and it was very comfortable to pick that person because they had been through the manager thing. He needed to be over in Maine. It seems like I remember where to take care of a parent for a week, for a day a week or something, and that was the only concern. And then we had Brandon fly, sitting at the table shaking like a leaf. He knew a lot about the town, a really lot, like more than me. I haven't been on every road in town. I took it like he had done that homework for the other towns that he applied to as well. And when it got down to time for the decision, I can remember Kelly saying to the committee, what do you want to do? And I remember clearly saying, I want to pick the young kid. Right after I said that, Josh Compo was on the committee too, and he said, I'm with Dave. It's a point in our time where I've been here for every single manager where you have ups and downs and people can complain or not about what people do, but I came here personally to thank Brandon. I want to thank him for going to my birthday at Ramonton's, him and Natalia. I want to thank him for going to the hockey games with me up to Dartmouth. And I want to thank him for having the courage, I know that Mike knows this one, where we had to beg him to leave to go to Natalia's family, and everything was going to be okay. He was going to be okay in South America to go. But the most important thing of all, and this is what I regret saying at the floor of the town meeting when I received the award, is this. And I left it out because I got choked up because I thought about my dad. Public service lets us meet people we never would have met. And that's what I did when I met you. And when you told me that you were leaving, I wasn't surprised. Because I could tell by your posting and I watched a couple of these meetings where you said it took 40 to 60 hours to do some things. I've told you something, I've told everybody in this room something that can't be forgotten. And people laugh when I say it, but I've never had a job. And I've told you that over and over again. And when you think you have a job, and when you're saying about how many hours it takes to do different things, you're in the wrong place. And that's what I told you. And then I sent you a video. You remember what it was? It was my son Ben's, one of his latest ones, where the title is, and I encourage everybody to look at it, you pull it up on YouTube, whatever, "The Best Is Yet to Come." And that's exactly what's going to happen with Weathersfield, whether we are all here or not, and that's exactly what's going to happen in your life by moving on to a place where there's a lot going on up in Hanover. So thank you for coming here, and thank you for doing whatever you did for me. Thank you. And now, thank you.
Hey,
Yes.
I have my hand up.
Sophia, you have the floor.
I can wait till everybody else is done, but I just don't want you to forget me.
Oh, I just gave you the floor.
All right, Sophia Lastic-Teitla, Weathersfield. I actually was originally raising my hand because I couldn't hear. I couldn't hear Lisa, and I couldn't hear the select board members. With that said, because Brandon is the guru of getting everything working each night, is somebody else going to be trained up to be able to do this so we're able to hear and able to connect properly? So just saying that to
Yes,
start.
absolutely, Sophia. I'll make sure that gets done before I leave.
Thank you, because some of us really want to know what's going on. Anyway, Brandon, I want to thank you too. I haven't been here very long and I haven't known you very long, but I knew the time was going to be short when you were working day and night, and no matter how much work you were putting in, you were coming to these meetings and basically getting whiplash with people criticizing this and criticizing that. So part of it was there were too many things flying around at the same time, and no one can do everything. So thank you for all your efforts. I understand you've done a lot on the finance part, that we were never in as good a shape as we are right now. So thank you from me as well.
Thank you, Sophia.
Anybody else? Any other hands online? Any other hands in the room? Going once? Going twice? So, review minutes 7/13/26. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of 7/13/26?
I move that we approve the minutes of 7/13/26.
With corrections as needed.
With corrections as needed, yes.
Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second?
I'll second, but I can't. Okay, I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on minutes of 7/13? Nothing on 7/13, they're all good? Okay, motion been made.
Actually, yeah. On the headings, it says April 13th.
Well, that's a good one.
Look at that. It does. Ay, ay, ay. Good catch.
was a tricky one. Everything else okay? As far as everybody knows at this point, I guess. Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes 7:13. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain, I wasn't at that meeting.
Okay. So it is 4-1, one abstention. The motion carries. The minutes are adopted. Citizens complaint resolution. Brandon, Kelly's reading this, or you, anything up front on this, or is it straight to Kelly?
I would like it to go straight to Kelly.
Kelly, you're up.
Okay, we met with all the board members, and we came to a conclusion afterwards, and this is what we could conclude. Over the past several months, the select board has undertaken an internal review of the citizens' complaints that were submitted regarding board conduct. The board used a consistent interview process to evaluate the concerns, gather information, and reflect on the events that gave rise to those complaints. We appreciate those who brought concerns forward, as well as those who participated in the review process. Public feedback is an important part of accountable government, and every complaint deserved a thoughtful consideration. While the review identified opportunities for improved communication and meeting decorum, it also demonstrated that many of the concerns have already been addressed through subsequent conduct and an increased awareness of professional expectations. The board believes this review has fulfilled its purpose. By adopting this resolution, the select board formally concludes its internal review of these matters. This action is not intended to diminish the concerns that were raised or to assign blame beyond what was appropriate for this review. Rather, it acknowledges that the concerns were received, carefully considered, and addressed through the board's internal governance process. Our focus now is on moving forward together. We remain committed to respectful disclosure, professional conduct, transparency, and serving the residents of the Weathersfield with integrity. We believe that closing this chapter allows the town to concentrate on its future and the improvement work ahead.
And would you make that motion, Kelly?
I did. I will. Don't make me read it again.
No, not the whole thing, just.
I make a motion that we accept the statement that was read in record for the conclusion of the complaints that were sent to us about them in the past.
I think one comment.
Okay, we wait for comments until we get through the motion?
It's about the motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like the motion to reflect that the Weathersfield Select Board is approving resolution number 2026-07-27.
Okay, so that's the motion? That you okay, Kelly?
Yeah.
Do I hear a second to the motion? Do I hear a second to the motion?
Sorry, second, yes, of course.
Sorry to wake you up.
No, I figured somebody else might do it this time.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay.
Oh, golly. Oh, my God.
Well, that makes it 4-1. The motion carries 4-1, and the resolution is adopted. Summer meeting schedule. We adopted a summer meeting schedule that would actually have us only meeting having one meeting per month through the summer. With the departure of the town manager and the change to the interim manager structure, I think it would probably be in our best interest to go back to our regular meeting schedule. Do I hear a motion to that effect?
I make a motion that we adhere to our normal meeting schedule through the summer.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? I think this is definitely the best thing for us to do right now. I don't think it's fair to the people that are going to be leading to be kind of just left out there for a month at a time. I'm sure you can handle it, but I just don't,
If I may, I will be coming back from vacation. I will not be super prepared for the meeting on the 10th, but do the best I can.
okay. So, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries. We are back to our regular schedule. That will be the second and fourth Monday of each month for the remainder of the year. Approved JPs on the ballot. Floanne, I believe this is you.
So, for several years, once the Secretary of State's office said that we can add JPs to the back of the general election ballot, I have been doing that. Now, we just found out this past week that they want the legislative body to give us permission to do that. I've already been approved for Secretary of State's office, and I've been looking everywhere in all my laws, what I have in my notes about everything, and there's nothing about that. Nothing about the board giving me permission to put the JPs on the ballot. And if the JPs are on the ballot, the general election ballot, then you know that means it's going to have to be a paper ballot, and then it's going to be absolute nightmare.
So who's saying that we have to vote on, that we have to take this action?
This is what was told to us last week
By?
by Secretary of State's office, but not anybody in particular. It was, what I'm looking at, I find nothing in here when it comes to putting the candidates on the ballot and everything. Nothing. There's nothing that I have. And August called me and asked me about this, and I said, I've been wondering that myself. So I emailed Secretary of State's office, 3 of them today, and called 2 of them, and I haven't got any.
So what would you like us to do? You want us to just go ahead and give you the permission to do it through a motion?
Well, I don't know, because August brought up the fact that you would be in.
I'm here, so I can, any comments I can make.
Oh, I know you're here, so.
But I mean, I don't know where this came from, because we've never, and like I said, everything that I've looked at on my calendars and everything doesn't say anything about the select board approving.
But the Secretary of State's office told you,
Well, it came through there, we'll put it that way. It came through there, I mean, it came from there naturally, but I mean, I didn't have anybody in particular tell me.
so is there any harm in us actually just giving you permission to do that?
No, I don't mind that, I just don't want you to be doing something wrong if it isn't the right thing to do.
August, I guess?
Please, Joe. I think it would be out of order to do that. I'm very familiar with the statute, and I was the recommender for all the Republican JPs. The select board has no role in this specific election process per statute. The Secretary of State manages it. She submits the names of the JPs. They're nominated. Town clerk has a role. The Secretary of State has a role. They manage those ballots. It goes on the ballots. I think she got bad information. And once again, there's no statutory authority whatsoever for select boards in the JP nomination, balloting, or election process. I feel bad because I think someone kind of set her up with bad information.
Well, okay, but let me run this by you and the board. You just said, and that's what triggered the thought for me, the Secretary of State manages the elections. Those were your words.
You have to follow statute, and she's not identified anyone.
Hang on, I'm not going to argue with you, okay? I'm asking the board. You just said that the Secretary of State's office manages the elections. The Secretary of State's office told our town clerk, who runs the elections for us, that they want this body to authorize the printing of those names. I certainly don't want to stop those names from being on the ballot, so I don't see where it changes anything.
I'd have to see that evidence, because there's no evidence to that.
Evidence of what?
That there's actually been a direction from the Secretary of State to do such a thing. That's impossible. It would violate their own statute. So I think, who sent it and where's a copy of that? And what statute did they reference?
That's what I asked them.
And you didn't get an answer either.
Yeah.
So what is your intent?
To put them on the ballot anyway.
Is the board good with that? I am.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to
Okay,
be
well,
like
it's
there's
done,
a
and I agree, the select board has no role in this.
I understand we have no role. I just want to make sure that we're not
Right.
jeopardizing in some way the election by not doing whatever it is they say we're supposed to, they want us to do. That's all I'm
I
trying
can
to
see
do.
if they say the Board of Civil Authority to
Right.
give permission, even though that's not in anything, but I mean, that makes more sense to me than the select board.
John, have you heard anything about this up there in your town?
I have not.
Thank you.
Just, since you asked, I find it strange. The clerk is an independently elected position who functions outside of the governance of the town. I find the request strange.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
Floanne, you're comfortable doing what you plan to do, and that's the way you want to run it. I'm good with that. The rest of the board good with that?
I'm good with that.
You've got our blessing.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Floanne. Sorry for any confusion. And I would agree with August that have somebody send that to you in writing.
Well, I've asked them.
I mean,
Give me a referral.
and if you don't get it, don't worry about it. We won't either.
Well,
Right.
if I go to jail, I'm gonna go to Martha's Street.
We'll bail you out, unless you want to be there.
Well, if it's Martha's Street jail, I don't know, It's pretty comfortable.
Okay, so that resolves JP's omissions and errors. This is that also you, Floanne? Errors and omissions?
I would actually,
Listers?
we did not receive that today. We were supposed to receive it, we did not receive it, so I would table it for the next agenda.
Okay, errors and omissions, do I hear a motion to table that to the next agenda?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
second.
Motion's been made and second to move errors and omissions to the next agenda. Please add that to your list.
Yep.
Any discussion on the motion? It will be the 10th, I believe. Is that correct, of August? Any discussion? Hearing none. Motion to move the errors and omissions to the next meeting on the 10th. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? We're at the warrants. You ready? We're
Can I
flying.
say something else?
That depends on what it has to do with, because we have moved on already.
August 10th, this hall is going to be set up for elections. It's like,
Okay. Under other business, we'll move the,
I emailed you.
we'll move it upstairs. Move the meeting?
The select board meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
all right.
we can just note that now and
Upstairs.
get
Okay.
it resolved.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Floyd. So I need somebody to read warrants. Who's that going to be?
Did Kelly leave the meeting?
We'll get to that shortly.
Oh, she's not.
Right now, we're doing warrants.
We got the warrant right here.
Is it in the packet?
It's in the
Yeah.
packet.
Yeah.
There it is. Who's going to do it?
I will. So, general fund, payroll, 22,000, oh, I should have, here, $904.48, operating expenses, $49,469.35. Highway fund, payroll is $10,995.77. Operating expenses of $26,068.46. Solid waste management, payroll is $2,493.16. Operating expense, $23,959.43. Library payroll, $2,702.07. Operating expenses, $0. Then CAO 893 GV Culvert, $3,799.71. CA 0839 Pedestrian Scoping, $268.21. GA1158 ditching, $407.04. BR1249 road erosion, $268.21. Excuse me. 130 Maple Street, $1,866.35. EWP 5041 engineering is $3,495 even. Grand total for those is $10,104.52. Sorry, that's not the grand total, that's for those particular items. The grand totals are payroll $39,095.48, operating expenses $109,601.76.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the warrants. Any discussion on the warrants? Any questions? Joe?
Yeah, the 130 Maple Street, is that just coming out of the grant money that we approved at the last meeting?
100%.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on the warrants? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve the warrants dated July 27th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries, it's unanimous. One member has left, it is 4-0, 4-0, with one absentee. Any other business? So the next meeting on the 10th will be upstairs.
Yes.
Okay. We'll have internet one way or another. Joe will be there.
Maybe.
Thank you, Joe, for taking care of that tonight. The internet is down and Joe has a hotspot and he set us up so that everybody at home can still see what's going on. Is there any other business?
We have the wastewater stuff?
That's after any other business.
Okay.
Yeah. It probably ought to be just under any other business, but which is where we are, and we don't have any other, so you're up.
Well,
Oh,
I'm gonna switch seats with Ryan, so you can take over for this and then the town plan.
okay. Ryan Gumber.
Are you announcing?
Oh, any other business?
I think we should probably
Oh.
explain to the public what just happened.
Do you have the written document?
Let me go get it.
Be with you in just one moment.
Okay.
Select Board Chair Mike Todd, July 21st, 2026. I have been giving it much thought and decided that I am stepping down as a Weathersfield Select Board member. This past year has been a tough one and it's time for me to let someone else take my spot and help the town move on to bigger and better things. Let us hope that all of those people out there who think they can do a better job will step up to the plate instead of complaining about how things are done. It has been a pleasure and an experience to work with everyone over the past 5 years. Sincerely, Kelly O'Brien. So we now have a vacant seat on the board. Kelly O'Brien has resigned. There is a procedure for seating somebody that happens here at this board level. We will put out a notice that there is a vacant seat. We will allow probably through the next meeting to receive those, and then begin a process of evaluating and make a determination on appointing a person to fill that seat. The way that works, for those of you who are not familiar with it, when a board seat comes up, this board appoints somebody to fill that seat until the next election is held, which would be in March. It's not actually, we could I think, we can't we, flow in? If we were ready for it, for the, at the primary, August election, if we were ready for it, we could vote for it then, could we, or not?
It's not on the ballot.
A ballot's already been done. No, it would, yeah, it would be, yeah, okay. So it would have to be in March, it would have to wait until March. Okay.
It's better
that-
to do town business at town meeting.
It really is. Yeah, and so we would just appoint somebody until March, and then that person would have to run for that seat, and they would, if they won the seat, or whoever does win that seat, only finishes the term that's already exists. We don't, the term dates don't move. It doesn't restart at zero. It's
She was up in March anyway.
this year? Okay, good. So it will be a new term then. Okay, thank you, Flo-Ann. I'm glad you were here to answer some of those questions for us.
Is there
Okay.
any particular formal application or anything that people need to submit? Or do they just indicate
I
that
don't
they're
believe there's a
interested?
formal application. They just submit a letter requesting appointment to fill the seat that is vacant.
So just a letter.
Yeah. August, I'll ask you that question, because you went through that. Did you have to fill out a form when you went through that, or was it just a letter?
Mike, I think the last time you had that situation, you know, someone had moved out of town and you guys, you did letters and you interviewed
Yeah.
and deliberated and then publicly came down and made a vote.
Okay.
I think that was the gist of it. Others might remember it better.
Yeah, but there was no actual formal application, it was just a letter?
It was a letter to the select board seeking appointment.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and now we'll go to the waste, or is there any other business before I move on? Anything else anybody has to deal with here? Wastewater, please introduce yourself up to the podium.
Eric Phillips with Otter Peak Engineering, working on the 60%, well this is a 60% wastewater study presentation. I'm not able to present there. I sent Brandon the presentation, I also have it on the laptop.
I would say sorry, Mr. Chair, can I?
Yes.
As we're not operating on the building Wi-Fi and only off of my hotspot, I don't have any way to transfer what's on that computer through that phone onto that TV.
Okay, understandable. I can talk through it instead. Is it better to do it here or?
Wherever you're comfortable and wherever you're,
You can find
The
it,
best
right?
reception for the owl is.
yeah, you do have to kind of stay near this guy, because that's the guy that's picking you up and broadcasting you.
Okay. Sounds good. So, as I said, Eric Phillips, Otter Peak Engineering. Also working on this was Robert Clark. He couldn't be here today, so he started with me. And just in background, this was, the study was initially convened in 2023. Originally, Craig Jewett, he was kind of the lead for it. He transitioned to a different company, then this project got moved to me, Robert Clark. Essentially, the study is a feasibility study, mainly centered around your designated village centers of Scutney, Perkinsville, seeing what we have for capacity, if there is any capacity for like a community-based wastewater system. And what we looked at was just kind of at 60%, it's a lot of background information, using state resources, looking at soil suitability maps, which are not perfect, but going off of soil descriptions, you can kind of gauge whether they are better or not for accepting wastewater and what kind of treatment you might get through it. So at that stage, we looked at both villages separately. At this point, I believe 8 landowners or 9 in both villages were contacted or sent some sort of correspondence because their properties were large enough to get a lot of setbacks as far as community systems go. They need to be large enough and areas that were mapped as having suitable soils. Again, the maps aren't perfect, but it's kind of a good starting point. I think for each village, we heard back from 1 resident for each. I know for Perkinsville, landowner that got back to us, it was a smaller parcel. Even if those soils were suitable, which we have to go out and do test pits and whatnot for to figure out. It was too small of a parcel to kind of support community system, so we didn't pursue looking at that. I know for Scutney, there was a more suitable parcel that was larger, and the landowner was interested. Test pits have not yet been done at that parcel, but that's part of the recommendation of the 60% report. Other alternatives to kind of looked at, so if you have no options to, or if you don't have enough interest in landowners in having people do test pits to see if the soil is suitable, or if they have no interest in the project at all, also fair. We also looked at neighboring sewer systems. Obviously, north of here is Windsor, like 2 miles or something, and then south of Perkinsville, Springfield, they both have municipal community systems. We looked at this stage, it's very zoomed out, but you know, it's feasible. You could, through a couple of pump stations, pump to either of those. Now, obviously, you have to have some sort of agreement with those community systems, and you have to understand whether they have the capacity to handle whatever you've kind of selected for design flows for each of the villages. And I think for both of them, they're around 6,500 gallons per day. That's for the village center designated locations, and that's kind of based on how the program works. Is if your center, once you have a village center designation, you can get more lucrative funding for wastewater projects. And I believe they offer out, you can expand that to a quarter mile from whatever that boundary is, and anyone within that quarter mile, you can get funding to connect them to a community system if you have capacity to do so. And I believe for each village center, it's around 6,500 gallons a day. For the entire quarter mile buffer, they're both around 20,000 gallons a day, so kind of quadruple it, but it's a larger area. So I think where the 60% kind of let off was definitely continuing to reach out to landowners, see if we can get more feedback from them. Ideally, we can get some test pits done this summer, get a better idea how good those maps are, because they can be really good or they can be really bad, so we'd best to find out. But yeah, so at this stage, 60% receive comment from public, from the system. We submit that 60% report to the state. They give their comments, and then we incorporate those in the 90%. And pretty much half the project is, or half the work for the report is between 60 and 90, because at 60 it's all background info, kind of looking at all your options. At the 90% you're really hammering down what your best alternative is, and you're scoping more in on price. We have vague ideas of the prices of like the alternatives we have in the report, but it's very ballpark guessing. So yeah, that's kind of where that stands at. I think I covered most of the slides for you too. Yeah.
Any questions from anybody? Brian?
For the disposal sites and the landowners you've reached out to, are the landowners you've reached out to only in the designated areas, or did those expand outside?
It was out to the quarter mile buffer. I think, yeah, it was only within the quarter mile buffer, so we haven't reached out beyond that.
And I assume there's been no conversation with either Springfield or Windsor about?
Not at this point, no.
I believe Brandon has reached out and spoken with them. But I will let him answer to any of that if anybody's interested. August?
I just have one quick question. I was here when you guys did the 30% brief, and there was consensus, and the engineer committed, because there's a small cluster of homes, particularly, that have these aging leach fields not usable going forward. They have to have a remediation solution. There's a small, like it's 6 to 8 specific homes, and they had committed that one of their, I think you were supposed to do 3 different kind of options in the study, and that one of those options would be a small scale option to give feedback. This was funded through a grant, and to give them feedback so that if it's I would call it a private solution. So I own a home, I've done my home inspection, I bought it, or it has a family system. A couple of my options are maybe having a shared septic with a neighbor, or a different type of system like a Presby system that can go under a driveway.
Yeah,
So
innovative alternative we call it, whatever.
So kind of roundabout, but my question would be, could you incorporate a small scale aspect of the study just to give feedback for a private solution to the homeowners that are most significantly impacted if they have to pay for it themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. And I haven't really, or when I say complete, there is kind of talk in 60% about small scale cluster systems where you might not be able to serve the whole designated village center, but if you have to solve the problem. It is a health and safety issue. You have to accept it and whatnot. Yeah.
Touching off of his question, would that, maybe it's only one person, it would address for that person?
Yes, I know that typically funding is more apt to do community-based systems.
Yes.
But there are, and one other town we're doing this for, you can get funding also if you have no real good, viable, or economically making sense options.
I don't think my question is centered around funding, but around solution for a person that has a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
That's all.
Yeah, and because also in that there's a, you can get funding for replacing individual septics if you have no better option.
Oh,
and
that's
interesting.
That's interesting. That's good. That is good to know.
Yeah.
But, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Eric? Anybody? Well, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think that moves us over to you again. Okay. For the next phase, which is, this is the second town plan hearing as required by statute to be held by the legislative body. This will be the final hearing once it is closed. The board will deliberate and issue a decision. So I'm going to read the warning. Notice of public hearing. Art Memorial Hall, 5259 Route 5, Escutney, Vermont, 05030. A public hearing before the Weathersfield Selectboard will be held at the town office in Escutney on Monday, July 27th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. to consider the adoption of the proposed Weathersfield Town Plan. Statement of purpose. The Weathersfield Town Plan is a part of a visionary document and, in part, a regulatory tool. The proposed plan assesses the current state of the town and challenges that have been expressed by residents participating in the public planning process. The plan lays out a vision for the town in the future and provides an 8-year plan to achieve the goals and maintain the values expressed therein. The geographic areas affected. All lands within the town of Weathersfield are affected by the adoption of the proposed Weathersfield Town Plan. Section headings. Introduction, chapters 1 through 11, land use, natural, scenic, and historic resources, economic development, housing, municipal services, utilities and facilities chapter, transportation, education, energy, flood resiliency, standards for section 248 proceedings, inventory of natural, scenic, and historic resources, appendix A, projects by reasonable party and responsible, thank you. By responsible party and maps. The draft plan and maps are available for viewing and downloaded at the link below. The above information is also available for inspection at the town office in Escutney. Persons wishing to be heard and participate in the hearing may do so in person or be represented by an agent or an attorney. Communications about the above hearing may be filed in writing with the land use administrator or at the hearing. Virtual meeting option, Zoom link. With that, I declare the public hearing open. Ryan, did you receive any written comment prior to this hearing?
I have not.
Okay. So with that, I'll open the hearing, and again, for the board, it's a hearing. We're here to listen. We are the judges, so we are not gonna enter into debate or discussion or arguments over anything. We're gonna listen to what people want to say to us. At the last hearing, I set a 3-minute limit. What is the board's pleasure with a time limit? Yes, no, longer? What do you want to do?
There's not a lot of people here, so I'm not opposed to having no time limit, or a reasonable limit, I guess. Have a 20-minute.
I want to hear what people have to say. I don't want to limit. We had to have 2 hearings, so that was part of why I did that at the first one. I want to hear what's going on at this one more so than not. You know, I don't want to be perceived as not listening. So I'm inclined to just let it go and let's try to keep it reasonable. Let's not talk for 30 minutes. I'm probably not going to let somebody go on for 30 minutes. That's not going to happen because it's just. And again, I would ask if you submitted stuff to the Planning Commission. That stuff is still in the record. You can kind of remind us that it's there, but other people may want to hear it too. So just I don't know, maybe do it as concisely as possible. That's all the guidance I really want to give on people's speeches. I want to give you time to get up here and talk to us. And with that, I'll open the floor for discussion. Hands in the air. I don't see any. Huh?
We're getting rushed.
August, I see you moving first, so go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for doing this hearing. I attended the last one. I attended the, I believe, most of the Planning Commission ones and submitted written feedback. I think of the approximately 15 pages of different feedback. I believe one recommendation was accepted, the rest were all rejected. So having said that, we'll try to keep it kind of short. I look at it as two-part, and it's really raising concerns. What I'm really doing is just raising concerns. I'm not preaching or telling you I think's right or wrong. It's just raising the concerns for you to consider. And I think there's part of it's procedural, and then part of it is more like structural versus intent. You know, what's the intent of the plan versus procedural. On the procedural piece, on June 22nd, you provided the plan for your first hearing. That PDF document, the plan, was written like a month prior in May, some point in May. The legislative session was ongoing, and it wrapped up in June, and a large number of rural Vermonters protested Act 181, and that resulted in Senate Bill 325 receiving tripartisan support for repeal, particularly the road rule and the Tier 3 designations, which also impacts aspects of Tier 2. It's complex, but that occurred the governor signed it into law on the 16th of June, which was like 6 days before you did your hearing, but the document that you heard was written before that repeal. So that's a procedural issue. And today, the Mount Muscatney Regional Commission had their second hearing on the regional plan. That regional plan is not approved. So you have some structural issues here that I'm concerned about, which is you have a town plan that's like 120, 30 pages long that references Act 181 and was built with future land use maps developed through aerial observation. Like their methodology and their criteria was really shaky, really shaky. And so you have a Mount Muscatney plan that has to go before the LURB. The LURB is already kicking back criticism to other regions. There's 11 regional planning commissions in Vermont, and the Land Use Review Board is not happy with what they're seeing because people are ignoring the legislative intent and S325 repeal actions. So in addition to that, there's another bill that I feel like I'm concerned about, and that's it's known as Act 171. It came about from Senate Bill 328. That became law on the 18th of June, 4 days before your last hearing. And so you're right in the middle of a legislative session. There's land use laws, like one aspect of that bill, the bill is housing and community, housing and interest in communities, and it has some specific provisions about what we can and can't do with like multi-unit. It's promoting multi-unit development. Those aspects weren't considered as part of this town plan. So I guess my concern is that normally when you're doing something like a town plan, you want to make sure that you're nested with the statute, and we're not going to try to approve something that right off the box violates a state statute or doesn't follow Vermont law. And then my third issue is kind of bigger. I serve on the Farm Service Agency at the state. I'm one of 5 people that are employees / committee members, and we gather like once a month and deal with farm issues. Forestry and agricultural land use practices are governed in parts of Vermont statute, and I'm not confident that the Planning Commission, land use administrators, regional land use have really adequately looked to make sure that we're not doing any harm, to landowners, and that we're nested and in compliance. And so, part of goals, this is out of Vermont statute, it's section 4302, chapter 117, title 24, just one sentence. In implementing any regulatory power under this chapter, municipalities shall take care to protect the constitutional right of the people to acquire, possess, and protect property. Some of my written statements, and I took a lot of time and care, I was really conscientious, but when you're going to create a new land use mechanism and have new land use categories and have new land use maps, and a resident of Weathersfield, hundreds of them, the boundaries aren't even on the maps. So you go to look at the map and it looks like spaghetti. But guess what? There's preservation, there's conservation blocks, there's wildlife corridors. And preservation, the intent of preservation is not for human use. Preservation means not for future human use. So forest blocks in this town have been mapped out, and people who have standing, posting at the post offices and on the town website, I don't feel is adequate notice that your land use category for future use, we intend to change it. And this goes back to procedural. When the Planning Commission noticed the hearing, neither one of these were really widely noticed. We had 4 attendants, but the Planning Commission's hearings were noticed as non-regulatory. These are non-regulatory. And they were noticed as a re-adoption of the existing town plan. When you transition to the Selectboard notice, there's a key word in there that adds that it's regulatory. Okay? So now this becomes a regulatory document, and the use of shall, I think it's like 66 times. I don't think you guys ever deleted a single use of shall. Shall is a prescriptive regulatory document. It's very specific legal meaning. And so I'm not in favor of any document that landowners can't adequately see. And I think I also heard the DRB chair raise similar concerns about the maps. That landowners need to be able to look at a future use map and say, oh, I'm a different color, now I'm a wetland, now I'm a forest block, so that they can give you, the select board, adequate feedback so that you can make the best decisions. In terms of town plans, the town plan, under page 3, what is a town plan? I'm almost done, Chair. Under Vermont law, is long-range policy guide. The plan itself does not create or change regulations, nor does it direct regulatory private property or development. A town plan should be aspirational. It's a goal. It's what our town wants to do. And that's done through the collective process. You have commissions, boards, public feedback. It's what we want Weathersfield to be. Me personally, as a resident, as a farmer and landowner, we have a farm on our property, I view Weathersfield as an agricultural community with all kinds of different purposes. And I don't necessarily view it as conservation is the number one thing. I think residents are the number one thing. And working lands, to me, like conservation, current use to me, is conservation. So, I'm almost done here. Maps, this is our town plan is saying future land use maps and similar planning are intended to illustrate broad planning patterns, community goals, The maps are conceptual, generalized in nature, not intended to establish or modify zoning district boundaries, regulate parcels, determine future use of any individual property. The problem is you have 120 pages. Your town plan it's like two people in a room arguing with themselves. What a town plan is not what the Weathersfield town plan is. The entire document is at odds with itself. 66 examples of shall, very prescriptive, warning it as regulatory. So I don't mean to present you with a conundrum, but I had these concerns, and I think they're fairly significant concerns. And so I've raised them. I'd ask for my comments. I'm speaking off the cuff, nothing written. I would just like for them to be part of the record. And I thank you for your time, Chair.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? This is a hearing. This is a final hearing. It's your last chance.
Hey, Cons. John Rupert Cable. I admittedly am late to the game. Second public hearing. First time I'm here. Just reading through the flood resiliency chapter, I have concerns that the goals are vague and ambiguous, and they use, I would say, generic terminology, talking about flood-prone areas. We have floodways, we have mapped floodplains, we have river corridors. Using generic terminology lessens the importance of those areas, and the goals are, I would say, weak, and I think they should be stronger in terms of prohibiting future development in areas known to be flood hazards. So, that's all.
Anybody else?
We have some hands up online.
Okay, who is it?
Sophia.
Sophia?
I was gonna say, Mike, one guess who it might be, just kidding. So I listened to what August just said, and putting my regulatory hat, QA/regulatory hat on, I agree with August's comments. I will say we are in a conundrum right now because we don't have a current town plan, and we need one in order to operate in a ideal manner. So I'm not sure how to resolve this, but I also agree. I mean, again, to Act 181, if we have prescriptive items in there, we need to make sure that they are we add statements, and I don't know if this is allowed in a state type regulatory place, but to say that the document was reviewed retrospectively after the laws were passed or statutes were passed on X dates and X dates, the ones that August noted, something should be documented so that you have the statute and then the plan and not vice versa. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Stephen?
Forgive me, my memory may not serve me right now, but everything in the plan is our aspirations or suggestions. There's nothing, if the plan was voted on today, that would, the state controls, I guess what I'm trying to say is some of these things, but the lack of detail on some of the maps is concerning. I'd hate for us to run into adopting a plan that has potential issues just to get one on the books. I guess I don't fully understand all the ramifications with the grants and stuff not having one, but I don't want to see us do something just for just to expedite the process.
Anybody else? Let's make sure everybody else is done first before we start doing repeats. Is there anybody else? Going once?
Have we got another hand online?
Is there a hand online?
Sophia's is back up, but Andrea has her hand up.
Andrea has not gone, so she is up.
I'm
Andrea?
sorry, that was really not a hand up. Apologies. I lowered it now.
Andrea?
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Andrea Murray. I just wanted to make a comment that I think is really important, that because the town plan, we were hearing a lot that it is aspirational. The town plan is supposed to be a guidance on where the community recommends that development occur, where the community recommends development shouldn't occur for reasons of X, Y, and Z. It should also include everywhere where we want development, everywhere we don't want development, and the reasons why, both historic and the reasons why it would be not ideal. Our town plan doesn't do a very good job of that. And it also has significant regulatory statements in there that shouldn't be in a town plan. A town plan should be a guidance. It should not create new bylaws or zoning regulations that have not been vetted through the proper process and channels. The town plan is not the place to do that. You cannot create new limitations with a plan. You can say that, of course, the village centers are where this development should occur. It shall not occur within a forest block. That is a statement within the town plan. That violates state law. State law says that we should look at forest blocks and do the best to protect the forest block. It does not give the town authority to deny development in a forest block area, especially when the new forest block mapping goes right through very small housing community developments that have developed over years and years and years. Now, if you say there's no new development in that forest block and it covers 10 houses, 11 houses, what have you, they can't build a garage. They can't make changes or do additions that they're fully allowed to do based on state law. So we have to be really cautious on that. I think that the plan is great. We're conservation, but we're not only conservation. We are not this isn't a ecological preservation zone where the humans that are in here are the annoyance, the kind of the buzzing gnat that we wish would disappear. When you read the very first page of our town plan, it's not positive. It's not joyful. It's, well, we did build stuff and it interrupts the animals moving around. So we have to really look at our footprint because the animals are number one, or the wildlife and plants have a higher value than the people who have lived here for 10 generations. It's an unreasonable taking of the right of land use. And the first paragraph in the state law that gives us the right to create town plans and says how to write them, it says the very first thing should be that the municipality, and if you're going to use any regulation, you have to protect the being able to purchase land, to be able to protect your land, and also to be able to use that land to the full ability. I don't have it right in front of me. I'm sorry, I gave it to August. He has it in his lap. But it's most important that we understand that as a community, absolutely, we are the most important stewards of the land, but we can't let our land use be based on political ideas that don't coincide with how people live and how the communities want to grow and develop. And I just don't remember ever there being let's say, a public town hall that said, hey guys, this is our town plan. This is where we want to build. These are the limitations that's going to happen. So that means this neighborhood, you are no longer going to be able to be allowed to subdivide. You're no longer going to be able to build and continue to grow your family or generational wealth. That never happened. And that is a requirement when you go through the packet of the how to develop a town plan. There are specific details that at the very basic level, local community input has to be included. And as you remember at the Planning Commission meeting and at this previous meeting, when residents were asked or were stepped forward to speak, they were denied that opportunity. And it's not how Vermont works. It's not how our republic works. And it certainly shouldn't be how our town of Weathersfield works. Our voices are the absolute most important. And we need to have those voices be able to be heard. And we need to protect and defend our land use and do that within the bounds of the law. So I would just have you review it. There's a number of legal violations in there. There were too many just to feed back. It just didn't make sense for me to do 180 pages and then give you a review of 100 corrections. So I would just ask that you review that and reconsider that. And also look at Act 179, which before this meeting, I wasn't able to find the municipal portion of it, but on the summary, it indicates that the municipal town plans won't be due until December of 27, but I don't have the specific details. It said if the town plans expired in 26 and 27, they wouldn't be formally considered expired until December of 27. Now, I know ours expires in 25. We'll have to look at that. So I don't think that, I think we need to find out more before we put a bad plan together and approve a bad plan. Thank you. I know that was a long comment, but thank you for indulging me, Chair.
Anybody else?
I do have another hand up online.
And who is it?
I think it's Sean Whalen, but it's Ashley Hensel Browning is the username.
April Hensel?
Ashley Hensel Browning.
It's Sean Whalen's wife.
Oh.
But I think it's Sean Whalen.
Sean, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mike. I served with you, Mike, and with others on the Planning Commission in the previous iteration of the town plan, and so I appreciate the work that goes into it and the experts that you've listened to, and also the public, the many opportunities for public engagement on this. And I'm also aware from personal experience how little engagement there is. Even tonight, there's just a handful of us who are speaking. But there have been many opportunities over the last couple of years to be involved in this process. Sometimes we have to rely on the folks who we've elected to appoint these commissions to act on our behalf. And now, of course, the final time for us to weigh in. I've followed the work of the commission through the formation of this plan, and I believe it is a thoughtful, well-considered plan, and I support the select board to adopt the plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Anybody else that hasn't spoken yet? John.
Good. For now.
Anybody else? Ryan, would you like an opportunity to address anything that's come in tonight, or do you want to wait and do that in deliberation?
Well, I guess it's up to you, however you want to run the meeting. I mean, I've taken notes about concerns that were written down, and it's not a great format to be able to have a back and forth about any particular thing. So if someone brought up a concern, I might interpret it and provide a response, but I don't think it really addresses the issues, and then there's a number of them. So if you want, I could go through these things.
Well, actually, I'd rather not open up a back and forth dialogue, because like you said, I think that's, it's not really the right forum for that. We're here to listen, but I do have a question about procedure, and this addresses the 181 changes. We can, still at this point, insert a statement, am I correct? That identifies those changes, that that's 325. We could add that.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a substantive change.
Well, it's substantive, but it's not our change.
Yeah, it doesn't change the intent of what is in the plan. I think that would be an allowable thing. I don't know
that's what the question.
But I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Do you have another hand up online?
I do have another hand up now.
Yep.
Is this a repeat offender, or is that? And I'm joking when I say that.
Zach B.
Zach.
Thank you, sir. I guess more of a procedural question. I'm still new to local government. Does the town plan go through any sort of legal review prior to its adoption?
Ryan, I'm going to give that one to you.
We've had discussions about particular sort of small details that we would run by either the attorney or Vermont League of Cities and Towns, but we haven't sent the entire document as a whole to the attorney for an in-depth review of it.
Oh, okay, but at some point, does the whole document as approved go before a legal review before its implementation? Because I think it would be, I don't know the adjective I'm looking here. It'd be foolish if, areas have been identified that go against state law that would make this document null and void in some areas for it to be approved without a legal review. So I'm just curious if somewhere along the process, is there a full legal review before its implementation?
DeForest, you raised your hand.
I just wanted to make note, does it not, we have to comply with regional planning, do we not?
Well, technically no, it's the town's plan, but if we want to be part of a recognized planning process and get the benefit of being a partner with them and municipal planning grants, there's a list of qualifications of which we do need to comply with the regional plan.
I guess I asked that poorly.
We will be complying with we will be subject to their review, and they have reviewed it and said that our plan aligns with their plan.
But our plan also aligns with state law.
Right.
That's part of their review, is to make sure we're not making any legal snafus in terms of creating a plan that will not comply with Chapter 117. Is that correct?
Right. And I think to that point, I think there's a general theme that runs through some of these things that might solicit some more detail in the comments. But so we've received a lot of sort of high-level comments, things for the board to consider before adoption, or there's hundreds of legal violations. I think we need to see some specifics. Where are we not in compliance with state law, and how does the state legislation related to Act 181 and 385, how does that, what portion of our town plan here needs to be amended to account for that? Because I think a lot of the sort of the broad level concerns have been discussed in pretty great detail. And if there are specific lines, that's something that we can actually look at and address. But a general comment is hard to sort of hone in on and make strategic changes. So some of those are where the town is in violation. And a couple of other sort of general points. Andrea said that the town plan cannot create new bylaws, and that's true. In my opinion, it doesn't. She said something about development shall not occur within the forest block. I did a search and I didn't find where it says in there that development should not occur within a forest block. That might just be misconstrued because there's a recommendation that the Planning Commission consider a bylaw evaluating development within forest blocks. It doesn't call for a ban on it. I think that goes against the spirit of what the town plan is, what it's trying to address. One of the things that August said was that he feels like current use land and working lands is conservation, and I think that's exactly true, and that's exactly what the town plan is trying to get across. Is that when we say conservation, we're talking about people on the land with buildings, working the land. That's the type of conservation we want to see in this town. And the maps do not identify preservation blocks, and we don't want development. It talks about the preservation land use category, which includes things like wetlands, but it's not identifying a specific piece of land that cannot be built upon, or legislation won't come out of that says that. A couple of times it's been mentioned the number of times shall shows up. I think shall, if you go through it, shows up a number of times in the state statutes that are quoted. The town plan shall includes a comment on this. Or there's a lot of times it's directing a board to say the planning commission shall consider a bylaw related to whatever. Or the select board shall work with neighboring municipalities to address something. So it's not regulatory towards the resident in that sense. It's more like things that the town plan is calling for to be worked on. So I'll leave it at that. There's a lot of just sort of vagueness to the comments, or just sort of they're just very high level. And if you have specific line items that we can consider, I think that's a little bit easier to have thoughts about, if that's what you were interested in doing tonight.
John, you had your hand up.
I did, sorry. So, John McNichol, again, I think DeForest, your comment was kind of glossed over, but I think it's important to note again that the town plan in entirety goes to the Regional Planning Commission to ensure its compliance with state law. That is a required action of the town, period. So that's an important thing to note.
Mm-hmm. And it's been done.
Great. Whether it's yesterday or tomorrow, right? It has to happen. And then there are instances where the town plan is a regulatory tool, specifically under Act 250, Criteria 10, and Section 248. So those shalls have reasons to be there. The Environmental Court and the State Supreme Court have a long history of not viewing town plans that are written with vagueness favorably in those narrow proceedings. So having shalls in there is important if we want to have good standing during those proceedings.
And Joe, I'm struggling whether I want to answer that or you answer it, or not answer that, but expound on that as far as the amount of work that we did with, like, Annette Smith at the Planning Commission to identify the language that was necessary to regulate some of those permits that go through Act 248 and Act 250, and why the town plan needed to say those things.
Yeah, I'll jump on this. First, I just want to throw out there so the general public knows this. I deliberately did not sit through the hearings on the Planning Commission for this, or the first hearing, because I am the chair of the Planning Commission. I didn't want it to be conceived that there was a conflict or any type of thing in that. So this is where I'm putting my 2 cents in on this, just to make that clear to everybody.
Yep.
As for what Mike was just mentioning, in the section, or the Act 240, or Section 248, whatever it was, I call it the energy chapter, basically, because we spent a ridiculous amount of time on that. One of the biggest things that we were concerned with was not having large solar fields and other things coming in part of the enhanced energy. Was that what it was, Mike? Or
enhanced energy.
The enhanced energy program, which was basically going to open Weathersfield up to prime development for any type of renewable resources, wind, solar, all sorts of things, then we as townspeople wouldn't have a lot of input on it. That was my understanding from it. So as we were going through on that, we absolutely wanted to make sure that we protected our town from not being opened up to big solar farms, wind farms in particular. Nobody, at least from my understanding, nobody wants to see a whole bunch of wind turbines similar to over in Leominster. I remember growing up and seeing pristine ridge lines, and well, now I feel like Don Quixote sometimes out there. So that's where that language came from, being very restrictive and enforcing on that. And there was a lot of time put into that.
There was, but I also want to be clear that it wasn't to totally eliminate those things either, but to create a process that the town would be able to participate in and have a voice in.
Yes.
Through those development processes. August.
Thanks, Chair. You mentioned the name Annette Smith, and so I was going to seek some clarification. My understanding is that she's with Vermonters for a Clean Environment, which is a environmentally justice-focused nonprofit, and that she's also a registered lobbyist in the state of Vermont. So I'd like to just know, and not from our county, not from our town, how much of our town plan was she allowed to edit? You know, we're talking about a nonprofit, environmental justice lobbyist versus people from our town generating the ideas and the inputs for that town plan. So what was her role with our town plan?
Go ahead, Brian.
So, it might have been 2 years ago that the town updated the energy chapter, and that's when she was involved with providing presentations to the town, to the planning commission, and sort of giving us what is the status of case law related to Act 248 proceedings. And so she was involved at that point, and basically we had an adopted energy chapter from a couple years back, so that one didn't get touched all that much, other than we separated the two aspects of it. One is sort of the aspirational aspects of energy in Weathersfield, and the other is Act 250 or Act 248 proceedings, standards for those. So that was sort of peeled out of the energy chapter, but really the energy chapter in general hadn't been touched since it was adopted a couple of years before. As far as her involvement in this town plan, she really hasn't reviewed any of it, except we followed up when we were rediscussing energy chapter, what new cases have gone to the courts and what kind of language has held up and what hasn't.
So the answer, I think, is that she didn't write the chapter or the town plan. She did not. She discussed with us language and cases and stuff, questions that we had. We asked her to come so that we could learn what we needed to do in this, because this stuff is coming. You're going to have solar development. You're going to have all kinds of green energy, whatever you want to call it, projects that are going to be headed everywhere. And our concern wasn't to say no, but to make sure we had a seat at the table. And Joe mentioned the enhanced energy plan. That came out back when Sven was here, who was an attorney. And he did not like the creation of language in there that said to the town that you got, quote, substantial difference. Basically, and we saw this, and we actually went through it, I think, on one application. It was, I don't remember if it was Act 250 or Act 248, where we had an application that came to us, and we entered a concern on that to the Act, and they just dismissed it. No, that doesn't have an effect. And we really had no say at all in it. And again, that came down to not having language in the town plan that they could look to and substantiate our concerns from the planning commission in that question. So that's what we were working on. And this was years of work, August. It wasn't for everybody. It wasn't something taken lightly. It was a lot of thought went into this, and consideration and research from a lot of people. Any other questions or comments?
Mark Emling, I'm just curious.
Mark, could you go to the podium?
Mark Emling, quick question as far as who's responsible for legal defense if there are legal challenges to this plan, since it's already been vetted through the regional? Who's responsible for defending that, and are the Weathersfield residents on the hook for those legal fees, or is it regional?
Good question. I guess I don't know. I mean, anytime it depends on, I guess, who the lawsuit names. I mean, doesn't that make sense, Mark?
Sure.
I mean, if it named us, then we're going to have an attorney involved, and yeah, you're going to pay for it.
Okay.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was there was some liability on the regional.
I can't think of, in most situations, that Act 248 proceeding standards is sort of a specifically regulatory aspect of it, but I can't think of a situation where the town plan would be creating legal liability. The bylaws, if we created a bylaw that went against state statute, that's where issues happen, and that's where the attorney or VLCT vets bylaws before they're created, being town laws. So, you know, it's been brought up that there's a lot of legal violations, but we've had a lot of opportunities, and all of these folks have commented before and haven't pointed any out. So I don't know what that even would look like.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I keep on hearing.
I have another hand up, but I do want to be careful about. I mean, we haven't entered into a debate, so go ahead, Joe.
My only question is
Go.
on the MARC plan, the Mount Escutney Regional Commission. They had their hearing today. Did that pass or not? That's my question.
I have no idea, and I don't know how that affects us at this point.
I'll wait till the comment.
Who's online?
I believe Andrea was first.
Okay, go ahead, Andrea.
Hi, I just wanted to, oops, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I just wanted to respond to the comment that it does not create regulatory rules. So in our present condition, this is conservation land, present conditions, you go to prospective conditions, item 4, line number 422. The forest block described above shall be the focus of conservation and preservation. Development shall be directed outside of the forest block, which directly violates state law. For the forest block to function as a habitat to aid wildlife in their movements around the landscape, these blocks need to be connected by wooded cover, whether that be hedgerow along stone walls, a buffer area along stream, or a family woodlot. Important connections and road crossings shall be identified and protected. So some of those road crossings already have been identified, and those go across property and within property. Some of them go across backyards, if you look at the maps. And so it's very important that those people that are directly affected do consider that, because the state law is very specific, and it was recently updated about the forest blocks, that they should be considered, but they are not. If that's the only place that you can build a house and that's where someone's land is, they have a right to build there. So I would just like to say that the statements made are not correct. There are very clear limitations to land use in this plan. It might be worded as prospective conditions. They've changed those wordings from goals and requirements, but that doesn't change the wording of what's in the plan. Thank you.
Who's next? Sophia?
So just listening to that line item 422 being met, that seems very prescriptive to me. So I think we have a difference of opinion of what is a prescriptive statement in a document and what is not. And perhaps One, I would suggest a full legal review be done of this document to ensure that we don't have any unknown legal issues that cost us more money when we're already struggling to pass our budgets. Number one. Number two, in this second hearing, I've heard a lot of comments about 181 and S325, and in the previous hearing, it was stated to me as an answer about the 181 and any impacts that it is not relevant to do a full cross-check to make sure that we're not that we have everything included and subsequently removed that was removed from 181. So I think, again, I'm confused because I'm hearing different methodologies of what the plan should or should not include. But if it's going to include detail, we need to be careful that we are complying with whatever statutes we have. If it's supposed to be more aspirational, then we shouldn't have to worry about it. But listening to just that statement being read, that is not an aspirational statement, in my opinion. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Sean's hand is still up, but I don't know if he means.
Sean, is your hand back up again?
Not on purpose.
Thank you, sir.
There's a whole bunch of text comments. Are those relevant?
They're kind of back and forth with each other.
Based on what I read, I'm not sure.
Oh, you're not recognized. You're done right now.
Unless somebody else would like to come over and be the judge of the comments, I think they're mostly back and forth between who's online.
That's fine. Anybody else in the room have anything they want to say? John?
I do. Sorry. The town plan fills a unique, it's a unique document in that it is at times prescriptive in those narrow Act 250 Section 248 proceedings. It is at times a guidance and aspirational tool that the town adopts as this is what we'd like to be as the future. It is the guide, the land use regulations that the planning commission will work on subsequent to this town plan are the regulatory tool. So it is both prescriptive and aspirational at the same time, intentionally, because that's what it needs to be.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. She hasn't spoken yet, so. And you've spoken several times, August, so.
So, Mary Goldbranson, Weathersfield, and this sort of ties on to what John has said. I know we are trying to do our very best all around the table to align the town plan with current statutes. This has a lifespan for this town plan, and the statutes will change. So I don't feel like we're going to check every single box for the next 10 years or however long the town plan is in effect. It is actually what we set up as legal guidelines in addition to this document. But I feel like we might be getting super hung up on it being perfect. And the statutes could change in 2027, 2028, 2029, and not match our town plan, and we'll deal with it.
August, last time.
Real short. I just, page 3, I would just, the plan itself does not create or change regulations, nor does it directly regulate private property development. If we can just stick to that with this plan, and it's just aspirational. And then secondly, Chair, Andrea mentioned a reference that they've just extended town plan deadlines. I think it might be worth exploring if we're grandfathered, so it wouldn't prohibit one of the concerns, which would be grant writing and such. But for grandfathered, it may provide the opportunity to go back and fix this, because it's not ready for prime time. As a member of the public, no way in good conscience could I ever recommend approving this current plan as written, and I don't recommend that any of you approve it either.
Anybody else? Last call.
I'm seeing that we have a substantial lag up on there. Are people online still able to hear us clearly at this point?
It's mostly coming through, so yes.
Okay.
We get it. It's a little choppy, but we can understand.
Thank you.
Okay. No other comments? What is the board's choice at this point? Do you want to keep the hearing open to receive further testimony, whether submitted in writing or research? Or would you prefer to close the hearing at this time and move into a deliberative session?
I thought I was close to hearing.
Okay.
I think we probably heard the comments. I mean, people had ample opportunity to come, so I assume that we've heard the comments of the people who have pressing need to tell us. I guess I'm comfortable going to deliberative.
Joe?
I have heard several people call for legal review. Would we still be able to have the legal review and deal with it with an open hearing? Or how would that work? If we got that review after we did this, then we would have to rewarn and start all over.
I guess that opens up more than one door for me. If I fast forward to adoption, let's say we adopted it and had a legal review come back and say, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, then you just fix it. And that's doable. That's what these documents are always like that. So it can be fixed. I think the change on the 181 and S325, there should be some statement for that added. But now I'm getting into deliberative session. So, legal review, I've never heard of a legal review being performed on the town plan. The zoning bylaw, absolutely. But not town plan. That's just off the wall to me. So,
well, if we're confident that every member of the public has commented that wants to comment, we have the written ones, all that stuff on file going into deliberative session.
So everybody's fine with deliberative session. Last call for any comments. John, sorry. Last one.
Just, I guess, for you, question, process, and I don't understand what you mean by deliberative session. The adoption of the town plan was on a warrant agenda item for the select board meeting, and future discussion would be held at a regularly warned select board meeting, followed by potentially adoption. I'm confused what you think is your deliberative session.
Well, to me, deliberative session, I actually was in an Act 250 hearing that I was the subject of. And when a question came up, the board, they actually entered into deliberative session, got locked out, came back and issued a decision. And that was a question involved in the hearing. When we did the deliberative session at the Planning Commission, we stopped comment and went into deliberative session. The hearing actually still was open. But comments at that point had been stopped. So we still could receive information because the hearing's open. Once you close the hearing, you can't take any more testimony. That's what I'm trying to figure out where we are right now. Are we closing the hearing and stopping all testimony? In which case, then this board has to deliberate on the testimony that's been given to us from the plan from the Planning Commission, the questions, comments, everything that's been submitted. It's all in the record. Ryan and the Planning Commission went over everything that was given to them.
A lot of that hasn't really changed. There are some there are some things that have come to light that are different, and I think maybe need to be addressed. Deliberative session for me at that point would be this board, whether it's open meeting or closed session, I don't care. I'm fine with it being an open session, but it's the board that deliberates, nobody else. And that's following, I hate saying this, but it's the way it is. The open meeting law guarantees the right of the people to see their government in action, to witness the government and the decisions that they make and how they make them. When we go into deliberative session, that's going to be adhered to. It will be our discussion, getting to a decision whether to adopt or not to adopt, and not be interrupted by more further questioning. That would be more testimony. Once the hearing closes, there's no more testimony. So only the board would be involved in that discussion of debating what to do, to adopt or not to adopt. Is that clear? Does that work?
Sure. I question whether or not, when there's a motion made to adopt the town plan, a motion is second in discussion, you still have to take public comment during that comment period. It's no longer a hearing, but this is an important point, like process situation.
But that's not what I said. I said no more testimony.
Right, I agree. So you could take additional comment through a third public hearing.
You're absolutely right. When you get to a motion, that's the third part of the motion. Motion, second, discussion. That part doesn't change. That's Robert's Rules of Order. So that's just the way that goes.
I think it has to be open. It can't be interrupted.
And I'm fine with that. Absolutely. We should be doing this open anyway. We haven't seen any more hands tonight, and the board feels confident going into the deliberative session. Second public hearing. So I will declare the hearing closed at this time. 8:16. And today is the 20, I don't know what date it is. That's 27. Closed. Okay, so the hearing is closed and the board is in deliberative session and may or may not make a decision tonight. That's what I would say at this point in time. So, board members, Rika's got pages, and I know DeForest has got questions. I've got a few of my own. I'm going to open it up to y'all to go ahead and start with what you might see as concerns and what you'd like to address, and where you might want to end up with this. Who's first? All those notes here. All right, then I'll start. I would like to see a sentence that addresses the Act 181 changes, S325, I think it is, what that was. Just that plugged into that, any sections that is relevant that shows that those things have been removed by the legislature.
I don't know what it is that you want recognized at the time.
Well, okay. I thought, to me it's simple. 181 created a road rule. What was the other stuff that was in 181? Tier 3. So those things went away with S325. I think we should note that, where if there's a place that is appropriate or that fits.
I don't know if the town plan ever talked about either. It talked about tier 3, maybe. There might be something.
We had like a graph of things and what they were and explain what they were. So in that
we talked about like tier 1A, tier 1B designation for villages and housing. There might have been something about tier 3. I don't think the town plan talks about the road rule or anything like that.
Right.
But okay, I see what you're saying. If it talks about tier 3 or anything else, which I don't think that there is anything else.
Okay.
Then yeah, we can say that that's not there.
Okay.
You guys are missing out on the best part.
I'm gonna say, you're not gonna watch us?
Thanks, Josh.
I'm so sad and lonely. Thank you too, Mary. Okay, so that was my concern there. I'm not, on the legal side, I'm not too worried, because it has been vetted by, Mark, and considered.
And it's something that should or shall do.
You may.
I think when I drafted it, I used the word should a lot because of that aspirational component, and we went at the planning commission level and sort of talked about whether it should be shall or should. I kind of disagree with where we landed. Some places it says shall, and this aspiration.
8:21, so approximately 8:20, internet failure. We will recess for just a few moments, see if we can get that back up.
It's not coming on.
Let's see if I can come across a power cord up there.
There is a power cord over there, right?
The one you just gave?
On that table, I think. On that table where you are, I think there's a power cord. I don't know if it's the right one or not.
No. We gotta find one that I know goes to the computer.
Rika, you say. Rika, don't sing.
I still want to hear you sing Jukebox Hero.
Take it back. Well, we're recessed. Yeah, your tank repair stuff came out today outside. You have no, what? I don't, yeah.
Leave your mouse.
Oh, wait. I didn't see any, chewed wires, at this point, but they sure did make a mess.
Did they pay rent?
Did you collect?
It's been in your
Did
garage.
you claim it on your Schedule E?
No, it's been in
Snap
your garage.
it, my garage.
Those are your mice.
They ain't my mice.
You can have your mailing address.
I can tell you that our corporate guards did not pay any rent for them going back to.
I think it like died.
Oh, dead.
I think it completely died because I just plugged into my power block that I use for that, and it is not coming back on.
Let's see if this block has any more.
Yeah, because usually once a laptop's battery craps out, you gotta charge it.
That's not doing anything.
Yeah, you gotta get up at least 2 or 3 percentage points before it fire back up again.
Well, this computer has had some issues. This computer has had some issues for a while.
It might be its final hoorah.
Well, that day when we mysteriously couldn't do anything with the comments, I'm pretty sure it was this computer.
If you're not gonna be singing and dancing, then
I'll tell you all about it tomorrow.
go for a walk. Good luck.
Thank you.
Well, if we stay in open session, we still have minutes, because we're still in minutes.
Yes, and I have a backup recording going on my phone for however long That lives.
I think after we just made such fanfare of making sure the public heard our debate, or not debate, but our deliberation, thank you. We owe it to them to do that. It's a shame that everybody left right beforehand.
Well, see, and that's what I was gonna say, but everybody got up and left.
Assuming that they were gonna be able to see
They had the
the
opportunity to stay and they chose to go. I'm concerned about the people online, because that was not their choice.
I just put a post up in the village's politics show.
The internet went out.
Yeah, that computer died, and that's what up, so we, at least, it's been addressed.
Okay.
Reluctant to do that. But I
Well,
figured it was probably
and
smarter.
as I said, we're still on the record.
Yeah.
So any conversation we have is recorded and available.
It's not, well, only the minutes.
We're in deliberative session, they can only watch. any-
Oh, you got it recorded, beautiful.
For however long, so hurry up.
Okay, all right.
Before I run out of storage space on my phone.
So, all right, so I will call us back into session, recess is over.
Josh,
I have a question on the recess, if it's applicable, but if not, that's okay.
If it's applicable?
Well, I can't ask during deliberation, so if you're out of recess, then.
Oh. Well. I just declared us out of recess. And that's 8:26. Okay, still out. No fix. Okay, so I kicked us off with basically my one concern. And you understand that, so that's good. So I'll go to the rest of the board. We've listened to a lot of comments. The one thing I can say is most of the comments were fielded at the planning commission. Would you agree with that, Joe?
Wasn't at the hearings.
At the hearing at the planning
I
commission?
wasn't at those hearings.
Oh.
I deliberately stayed out of them, so I
Okay.
can only wear my.
You didn't review, okay, then I'll turn to Ryan, because Ryan received all of those complaints, and as I think Dr. Murray stated when he got up, he submitted 15 pages of questions. And, every question was dealt with, whether it be not just him, it was from everybody. We did all the questions, we answered them all, dealt with every single one of them. Where they had a concern, it was part of our deliberation when we created the plan, and we knew the answer. And Ryan dealt with that, with all of that. Approximately how many questions or pages or whatever was that, Ryan?
Yeah, I don't know. There's probably 20 pages of questions and answers, and a lot of it was summarized. Yeah, so I think a lot of this is a lot of the same, just sort of misconstruing the plan for something regulatory and saying that in some respects it is, but again, none of those comments were very specific. And then so Andrea's example, the development shall be directed outside of forest blocks. It doesn't have any kind of legal backing. We can't enforce that based on what the town plan says. It's not a bylaw. It doesn't create one. I agree. I think it would have been a better word for that, but the commission said that they wanted language with a little bit more substance. So they decided to go with shall, but either way, in my opinion, it's inconsequential. It doesn't create a rule. It's not something that we can enforce based on the town plan like that. That's mine.
You have lots of stuff. Do you have any questions for them?
I have to admit, my whole last week was not focused on town business, so I feel unprepared this evening, and I apologize for that. So that's why I'm hesitant to leap into this.
Okay, Forrest.
My first comment is, I think it's a great plan. I'm very confident that Ryan has addressed all of the concerns that were raised. The only concern that I don't think I heard in front of the planning commission was John Robert Campbell's regarding the language in the flood resiliency chapter. But for me, that's not enough to hold up adoption. That's something to make a note of and to follow up on.
Right, I think, because that plays into our, I've said it a number of times and I forget where I've left off, but we're gonna do a second round of changes. We've gone, the example I keep giving is scenic views and stuff like that. So we are gonna be seeing the town plan again before it expires in 2 years.
I heartily acknowledge people's concerns about the right to do what they want with their property. I acknowledge that, but it's a balancing act, and I think that the plan's done a good job of addressing that. I do think we've been asked multiple times to put property lines on the map, and I'm a little disappointed that it wasn't.
Well, they are. There's like 7 maps, and I think the one that they wanted to see them on was the future land use map, which the board decided it completely undermined the purpose of the future land use map.
This board or
The planning commission. The planning commission felt that the future land use map is not about specific properties, it's about these large sort of general concepts. And we were worried that if people look at their property and they see the line go through it, they're like, oh no, my property is being changed, which in fact, that's the exact opposite of direction that we want. So, but on the land use planning map, which is the one directly after that, it includes all of the detail on the future land use map and then some, including the tax parcels. So you would be able to see the town map with the tax parcels, where your land is, and where all those different areas and colors and things show up on that map. All the colors are the same.
And this is exactly why I feel confident about this plan. That you all put the work into it, Ryan knows it forwards and backwards, and defends it without hesitation, clearly and concisely. So I'm ready to adopt it. I think that it's an ongoing process. I think we need to acknowledge the concerns that haven't been addressed or maybe are still a work in progress, like notifying people whose lands might be affected by some drastic change in what they can and can't do. I've always felt that way. That yes, we go through the motion of looking for public outreach, and 99% of the time we don't actually connect with people that could be most deeply affected. So I would like to see us do more outreach, but I do not want to hold up adopting. I think it's a great work, and I want to see it.
Do you recall the hearing we had to adopt the future land use map as the current land use map out of the 2017 adoption? Right.
When Chris Whitten was here?
It was like right after I started.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was brand new. That yeah.
The hearing I think might have already been warned, or no, it was, I warned it. That was the first hearing I warned. And it was a slew of a bunch of different bylaw changes, and one of them being the future land use map would basically become the zoning map.
And,
yes, I do.
And it all got shut down.
Yeah.
So the fear that the future land use map is now going to take over and become something, there's still a long process to go before that even begins to
Everybody
happen.
makes that jump.
Yes.
That's nothing new. That's always been that way. Oh, and the last comment, I've never, in my experience, I've never seen a town plan be subjected to legal review, and do not think we have a budget to do that. That would be a massive legal bill. And I don't.
Yeah, there's a lot of pages to
We
read.
don't have the money for that, nor do I, has there been any tradition of doing that? Precisely what Brian said, it holds no regulatory consequences. There's nothing, doesn't set up any liability, so.
Joe?
Well, I know from sitting on the board of the planning commission that there was a lot of work put into it. I believe my words exactly were, well, it's not perfect, but it's something, and nobody's ever gonna 100% agree on that. However, what I am hearing is public pushback against it. Maps is one of the big things. I'm looking at the future planning, future land use planning map. It does show the properties, they're very hard to see, there's a lot of information on it. I would like to see the property lines on all of them, but I was only one person on the board when it came down to it, but that was the board's decision not to. I am very concerned about the Act 181 changes and the repeal of that. And I would like to have the planning commission do a full review to make sure that anything to do with things that were repealed are removed from the town plan.
Can I ask you what your concern is?
If we have language in there that's affecting that, somewhere in there, we should take a look at
Affecting what?
the repeal of Act 181. And
Act 1, what is Act 181 and what does it do?
I thought this was my time to comment.
It is, not in the chair, and I'm trying to.
Well, Act 181, I feel like you're trying to fucking trap me right here.
I'm not, I'm trying to.
And excuse my language. I didn't mean to have that out first.
What does Act 181 do?
It's a land use act, correct?
For who? For whom?
Development and and allowing for more use of Act 250. These are the regulations.
And who implements Act 250?
The state.
And how does that affect us?
Well, we have the possibility for language in that, do we not?
No, we don't.
Then why is it being brought up that we do? I'm just bringing up the public's concern right here, like it's being brought up to us, then we should do our due diligence to make sure that we don't create some sort of problem in there.
Okay.
I think that echoes Mike's point at the beginning.
But I don't think this statement is enough. I want to make sure that we don't have the language in there, though.
I think I agree, and I think the only places that I can think of that anything related to Act 181 shows up is Tier 3. And if Tier 3 is in our plan, this thing didn't work. So.
Right, and I don't remember enough detail on all of that right here to give you a definitive answer. And again, I would like to apologize for that.
But I don't think there's anything other than that one title, Tier 3, that has anything to do with Act 181.
I also don't like all the shalls in there. I was with you, Ryan, on that. There should have been more shoulds. But again, this came from the board. This isn't me. I agree with Mr. Campbell on the flood resilience. That is kind of vague. Yeah, but again, is it perfect? No. Is it ever going to be perfect? No. There was mention of lack of details on the maps several times. The legal concerns, I know we haven't, and I've never adopted a town plan before, but I am just really hesitant to open the town up for any type of liability where we're going to get ourselves in a sticky wicket. I don't want to see us getting sued over trying to restrict land use rights or people's right to development or anything like that. And I understand that the document isn't a regulatory document, however, it is warned as regulatory components of the land. And I'm really apprehensive to go forward with this right now. I feel like the residents said, hey, let's look into this a little bit closer. We don't have to close the hearing. We could go in and have it closed. Okay, so the hearing's closed. I would just like to have some sort of solid thing that we could show back to the residents that we did our due diligence to make sure that they felt like their voice is heard. And we saw that, found the answers, we're able to give them answers. So it doesn't just feel like we're operating here in a vacuum, which we're not. We have public input, finally. So I'm not in favor of voting for the town plan.
Would it be useful to get a statement from our attorney about whether or not a legal review makes sense for a town plan? Or whether the use of shall in certain places has any kind of legal consequences? Because my assumption is if he's not acting out of wanting to get more work, he would say the town plan doesn't need a legal review because it doesn't have legal implications in that sense.
I'm comfortable that regional planning has reviewed the plan and states that it complies with the appropriate state statutes.
I'm comfortable that the planning commission did their job and submitted a document to us that is in very good order.
I'm still curious on if the Mark stuff was approved, because they approved our plan, but if their plan isn't approved, maybe they're getting it shot back and it's going to change some things that might have to change ours. I just don't know. I'm just trying to protect us.
That's an ongoing battle that will never stop.
True.
I don't think the failure of the regional plan would adversely affect our plan.
Okay. But
And I don't believe going back to when this plan expired, that you're gonna find that we're under any kind of grandfather rule. I could be wrong, but.
I am curious on I've never heard of that.
Just don't wanna see any more delays.
Yeah, nor does it really matter. We wrote the plan that we wanted to put together.
And using your words, Joe, it may not be perfect. It's got a few flaws in it. And we could hold these hearings 6 more times and end up right where we are right now. You're still dealing with, well, no, this should say this and this should say that. It shouldn't say this and it shouldn't say that. That's never going to change. There's way too much stuff in a document like this, and way too many people. And everybody, well, I shouldn't say everybody. I wish it was everybody, but there's a lot of people that don't. My whole reason for getting on the planning commission was to ensure that property rights were protected. That the person that owns the property can use their property and that balance where you don't infringe on your neighbor, that's a real delicate one. That's what the courts are for. When it gets there, and I'm not trying to minimize it. I support property owner rights in every way.
Consistently.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that with you. But I'm on the same page with you, Mike. That comment that was brought up about the forest and the usage of it, what was it stated there, of the shall, that's one of them right there that just pops right up to me. So that, to me, or any future person on the planning commission would use that as a guiding document that says that we have to regulate that.
And it can be changed. And if you don't adopt the town plan, or okay, you don't adopt the town plan, you go back and you start over again. And there's gonna be another one of those, and another one, and another one, and you're never gonna get anywhere. You've gotta take that leap, get it done, and then you can come back and you can say, okay, this is where some people had some concerns, and let's go back to the drawing board on those things. What have we got? A half a dozen things that we can come back to the drawing board on. And I don't see us going to jail or getting into some legal conundrum that certainly is going to cost us a ton of money. The planning commission, and you know this because you've been there for I don't know how many years, working on this. We don't always agree, but something that's really important is that as a member of a board, when a decision gets made, you can say, I didn't support that. But if it's a 4-1 decision, and I voted no, the decision of the board was to move the document forward, or the decision, whatever it is, whatever's created. After that vote, and it's successful, then the board is united again. You can still say, I disagree with that. I did not support that decision. I was in the dissent. But it does not open the door to a person in that capacity redebating that issue.
I don't feel like that's what I'm doing. I completely acknowledge that the planning commission sent this forward as a board. I'm not saying that anything to the contrary to that. It came forward, and it would be the same thing here. If I vote yay or nay, and there's one difference, it still goes forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's democracy in action, and that's a
wonderful
thing about this country.
It is.
For sure. And I get that, and I understand it. I'm just not comfortable with it.
Could we also recognize that there are a lot of other chapters that everybody's happy with?
Yes,
This is
absolutely.
only one small section. So is it worth it to throw the whole thing out based on this one?
Well, that's where I'm getting. Are these substance changes or not? because I thought we could do, or give recommendations or come up with things that we could change in it to deal with these types of things.
Is there any sort of a time frame that says, yes, there are things that we know we would like to improve, and we have a certain window within which to do that, or that we've approved this plan and now we can't make any amendments for the next 9
That
months?
prevents you from making changes in the future. The time frame that you have now is from the close of the hearing. I think it's 180 days the board needs to
Issue a decision.
Issue a decision on that. So now that the hearing's closed, that starts that clock.
That clock, sorry.
But yeah, at any point you can make changes.
I see.
Even after adoption.
Yeah, well,
But-
that's,
but you-
I meant after.
But
After, yeah,
but you have to go through this process to do it, which would be, in general, would be how to break that out. We could say we want to add that language dealing with 181 S 325 that I would like to see. And we can adopt the plan knowing that's going to be in there.
Would that create, would that create unnecessary confusion though, without specifically saying where and what, how this would be affected? Rather than just a simple sentence at the end of it?
I don't think, at the end of what?
At the end of, like, wherever we insert it, just use land use chapter as an example, that we wrote this while this was in effect, now it's been repealed, how would that change?
It's not a repeal.
Well, a partial repeal.
No, it's not. It's not a repeal. The legislative, we didn't do anything. The legislative body did. And it's a law that guides Act 248 and Act 250, which are state zoning. It has nothing to do with us. And all you're doing is, it somewhere is addressing the point that after the creation of this town plan, a legislative decision, S 325, removed Tier 3 and the road rule. That's all you gotta do. That's, I mean,
I got internet now, so I'm going to pull it up and just see where, if anywhere is mentioned.
and I don't think there's any confusion in that, okay? Because what confusion is there? We don't have anything to do with it. We don't implement Act 250. We don't implement Act 248. That's a state land use division. It's got nothing to do with us. And the legislature changed that language for them. All we're doing is issuing a statement that, you gotta go look at this, S 325, and some stuff went away. It is what it is.
So what about I'm on board with that. What about the other complaint, or not complaints, but the things that were noted of like the shalls and shoulds and stuff like that? I just don't want somebody 5 years down the road, whether it's the same commissioners or not on it, to read this plan and see things, the forest one, we'll use that as just the example because it was brought up. The way that reads right now, it's saying that we shall do this, like we have to make it restricted and we have to prevent that. That's gonna in turn take in land rights and it's gonna restrict people's land use. And that's the last thing I wanna see happen. And after this is done, the next thing that's gonna be brought up is the bylaws on the planning commission. And what guides the bylaws? The town plan does.
Okay.
So to play that out though, if the planning commission, the future planning commission looks at that and says, we shall be directing development outside of forest blocks. There also in there is the planning commission will work on a bylaw related to forest blocks. That's going to stimulate a discussion about a potential bylaw. And so at the planning commission, they're gonna have this whole conversation about landowner rights and how should we regulate them, should we regulate them at all? And the board's gonna have this whole conversation that we're having here about whether or not that's a good idea or not. And then they're gonna propose a bylaw that's gonna have public input and everyone can provide input on that. So this in itself doesn't create any kind of legal requirement. It's not something that would be administered on any kind of application that comes to the town. And in the future, I think we are hoping that the planning commission is gonna look at a bylaw related to forest blocks. And I don't think that the board is gonna be completely naive to private property rights.
If I recall, and I don't know, I'm guessing you were at most meetings, most, at the planning commission. Going back to, the energy chapter and the language that was necessary to guide Act 250, Act 248 through development, I think that's where the shall protecting those forest blocks. I looked into putting a 500 kilowatt down in front of my house between me and the swamp. It takes 3 to 3.5 acres of clear for the 500 kilowatt system. It requires almost another complete 2 acres around that, so a total of over 5 acres. Because you gotta get the trees out of the way for it to work. So it's almost 5 acres of clearing to put something like that in. I mean, I could be collecting $1,100-$1,200 a month for 20 years on that. But I couldn't do that. I don't want to see that. That's my personal choice, but not everybody's going to look at it like that. And that's where, in the forest blocks, you have some of that consideration coming in that can now be used in Act 248 and Act 250. Not necessarily in our zoning, but if somebody wanted to clear the side of a hill or something and put in a 500 or even bigger, the town's going to have standing in that proceeding. We automatically do because it's in our town.
Yeah, I remember doing all that in that chapter.
Sure, and if in that chapter, but now you've gone to another area where you're talking about those forest blocks and protecting them from that type of development. I don't think we ever had any intent or conversations about stopping people from building on their property.
That would have been one of our famous unintended consequences for sure.
Yeah, we would, Joe, you and I would never support
I
something
understand.
like that. I agree.
It's not, I'm not trying to crap on the work that was done at the planning commission. That's not at all what I'm saying. We all know we're never gonna have a perfect one. I just see things like that pop up, and that, I'm not thinking of the current board that we have, or even this current select board. I'm looking future to when any or all of us are not on those things, and how it could be misconstrued. I'm very trepidatious.
You've got another 10 years to go, then.
I'm lucky if I'm gonna make it another 3 weeks at this point. I just don't want to see the it's a conundrum. It's a hell of a conundrum.
I think we all share the same value. The concerns that they have, I think, are the same concerns that we have. We're just disagreeing about whether or not this town plan has any kind of legal effect. And I think that's the misconception that they've been bringing to every meeting that they've come to, is that this has tremendous legal implications, which I don't agree with. I think it doesn't have legal implications. And ultimately, worst case scenario, if there's a board that's hell-bent on preserving forest blocks and not allowing development, I don't think it's gonna get very far. That would be a misreading of the town plan, which is totally possible. People can misread it, but I don't think it's going to do anything. I don't think there's no legal basis for it to be relevant in development. If this was adopted today, it wouldn't come up as part of development.
And if bylaws like that came forward, you don't think this place would be full? Yeah, again, they're going to come in and they're going to tell us. And great, that's what we want. That's not what we created, but that's what we're going to get if you go in that direction. Like I said, you and I are on the same page. We don't want to see landowner rights infringed on in that way.
And I would just hate to be responsible for that in some way. And that's where I really, really hung up on. I just don't want to see us do that by mistake. Or even if it's by mistake, by oversight, because we weren't thinking that when we were having those discussions.
Well, we are thinking it. We're talking about it right now.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it before too, and I think the conclusion is there's no legal implication. Unless, do you feel otherwise that this has a legal implication? If it was
I'm no attorney.
Huh?
I'm no attorney, but I'd hate to see the town succeed.
Okay, so your opinion is that we need to run that by an attorney.
I'd like to, and to DeForest's point though, that's gonna be a big bill, and we don't have the
We
money
don't
for
need
that.
to be racking up any
I
money.
agree
So
with
then
you
how
on
does
that.
it shake out then?
So what would you trust Jason Rasmussen's opinion?
I would just like to have some sort of outside opinion.
Would you like to change the language?
I would like to see
Change
some of the
shall to
shoulds,
should.
some of the shalls and shoulds.
To should.
To
Should
make
is
it,
not shall.
Yeah.
Shall is a
Now,
little
that
term.
enters into what I just got done pointing about you redebating a settled issue with the planning commission.
okay.
Because you didn't get your way, now you
I'm
want to
not,
change it.
I am not using it like that though. That is not my intent at
That's
all.
the way I'm sorry, but
That
that's
is
the way I see
completely
it.
your opinion, that's fine. I will state for the record though, that is not what my intent is on that.
Would you be willing to adopt the plan with the first item on the agenda for the planning commission to address that and the flood resiliency issues? We have got to get a plan adopted. We are vulnerable without it in ways that we may not all understand.
Well,
We're depriving ourselves of grant funding to help with bylaw drafting. With, you want help with language, we could get a grant, municipal planning grant to help us with that. But I think the longer we delay this, the more vulnerable we become. And it's gonna cost us more without a plan in place. Imperfect, controversial, perhaps, but at least have a plan in place. And then you can go, you're on the planning commission, you can put it on the agenda to start hacking away at those things.
I got a question.
It's not permanent.
Thank you. I appreciate your input.
That was very thoughtful. I got a question that you just triggered, that, I closed the hearing. If we got a legal opinion, would that not be asking for further testimony?
Oh, that's a really good, yeah, that's, well thought, sir, well thought.
So that brings me back to what DeForest just said, that we could,
All three of you could vote yay and it would go.
well, that's true too.
But I don't want you to feel bad about it either.
I don't.
Well, and
remember, it's only one piece. There's 10 other chapters
Mhm.
that are waiting to get put into action that we need.
And her recommendation was, that the changes that you're looking for be, that we immediately ask the planning commission to put that on the agenda.
I definitely want to see flood resiliency one of the first.
I am content with that, but like I said, the three of you guys could vote yay for it, I could vote nay, and it would still go through, and that is democracy in action right there. And if the board sends it through, the board sends it through. You're not gonna hear me going out and collecting pitchforks and
Pitchforks?
torches and gallowses. I have better things to do in my life than
Arrows,
that.
fire arrows.
Actually, Josh, can we have fire arrows? If we can have fire arrows, I'll go with it. Sorry, bring a little levity back to the group.
So it seems like we have, I understand your concerns, Joe. And I think there's some good recommendations in place. Would somebody like to make a motion to deal with this?
Before you do, on the tier 3 stuff, I searched the plan and it doesn't mention tier 3 anywhere.
Yeah, the only place I could think of where any of that was in there was a graph thing that came from the state. Didn't we put that in there?
Right, we had a table that showed how our land use categories align with the state's categories.
Okay.
And I don't think any of those category titles changed, and I also don't think it's really relevant, because we're just trying to say, this is our plan, this is the way we visualize it, this is the way we'd like to think about it. The state has their sort of thing, and we don't think that that's the best way to do it, but we can sort of track across. So I don't think that it changed anywhere. It doesn't mention tier 3, it just says like where we say industrial, they say enterprise, language, things like that.
Okay.
And I don't think any of that was affected by.
All right, so we don't really need to address any of that.
In my opinion, no, and that goes back to August bringing up things that I just don't think are relevant.
Okay. Somebody got a motion for me?
I make a motion to adopt the town plan as presented on July 27, 2026. Wards and all.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been made second. Any discussion on the motion?
Do you want to just stay in the maps too, just so that that's clear, that's part of the town plan?
Including maps.
Okay. So there is a motion on the floor to adopt the town plan with maps. Joe, do you want any language in there that guides this thing over to the planning commission for review? I think before you wanted the flood resiliency dealt with. Do you want?
I don't want that in motion.
You don't want that in
No,
motion?
I don't. I think there's enough consensus. I think that we can all agree. I don't think we need to be bound by a motion to make the planning commission do that.
Okay.
With the recommendation, all right.
A recommendation.
With the recommendation that the planning commission, review the language and the flood resiliency goals and objectives.
As part of their phase 2 edits, amendments?
As part of your phase 2 edits and amendments at this time.
And what about forest blocks? You don't include any of that at this time, or?
And address the language in line 422. Or the apparent prohibition of development in forest blocks, is that what you're looking for?
I don't know, because I
This motion
don't.
is going on for days.
Yeah, I stopped writing.
That part.
Okay, let's back up here. I made the motion to approve the town plan and maps as presented on July 27th, 2026, with the recommendation that the planning commission, at their earliest convenience, address the language in the flood resiliency chapter and address concerns regarding prohibition of development in forest blocks as part of the phase 2 review and edit of said plan.
Okay,
Does that do it?
I think so.
That takes
That
into
sound good?
concern your and John's.
My thought on the,
Well, hang on, do I get a second on the motion?
Yep, second.
procedurally, yes.
I'm here. Okay, now you go.
I like the motion. It's very straightforward with instructions. Good job on crafting that. Instead of maybe just the forest blocks, just on property rights. Is that the proper way, or is that too broad?
It's too broad, because the
My
whole,
feeling
the
is too
whole.
broad,
Okay.
but
That's
this
all
was a
considered in
specific
the zoning
issue.
bylaws.
Yeah.
You had mentioned shells and shoulds, that might be something worth looking at.
I
No,
think
I'm
at
just
this
saying,
point, though, we have
We're wondering what
direction.
Joe's concern.
But I think we have enough.
Yeah.
He's the chair of the
Yeah.
planning commission.
Yeah.
I'm a planning commissioner.
Not
The
much
message is
not
gonna
in
get, the
the-
message is gonna get there.
And I don't
I
think we
hope
need
you
to,
got that one, because I don't know if I could.
and we don't need to rehash it.
No.
So no
But
amendments on
it
my
was
side.
pretty clear.
Okay. I thought it was good.
And as you said,
And-
you
and
have 2 members of the planning commission in the room. It's not like this is gonna get to them by word of mouth or through the net.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? The motion is to adopt the town plan with and the maps with a couple of recommendations.
You're
Just
butchering my
summarizing,
motion.
just summarizing.
I'm just summarizing. She has a recording of what it is. It'll get published.
Yeah, hurry up before I run out of memory.
So with the recommendations for the planning commission, at their earliest convenience to address those issues, at their phase 2, amendments.
I think that's respectful of the key points that were brought up tonight and respectful.
And Joe's position, yeah, I agree.
It is my motion.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to adopt, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Any abstentions? It is 3-1, And the motion carries, the town plan is adopted. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.